Hi, I'm Anna and welcome to Art Club for May. I can't believe we're in May already. So this month we're going to be channeling a little bit of Matisse and making lovely cutouts. You can make them garden themed, you can make them sea themed. It's really up to you. The choice is all yours. It doesn't take much. You're going to just need some coloured paper or some paints, scissors and a few bits and bobs like a glue stick. And we are ready to go. Let's get painting. So today we are going to be working with, I'm going to be working with quite a small piece of paper, and there's a good reason for that. It's because I'm at home, I'm not loose in the studio, and therefore I don't have a huge amount of room to work. But that's fine because this project works on any scale you like. Now I'm going to be using gouache paint today. If you haven't come across it before, it is funny stuff. It's a little bit chalky. It's like chalky watercolour. Poster paint, anything will do for this. Really you want something that's going to stay relatively flat on the paper, not buckle it too much. But to be honest, it's not the end of the world if there is a degree of buckling, because who doesn't love a bit of texture? And anyway, we're just playing, aren't we? We're having some fun. So I'm going to have 4 colours, I think. When you look at Matisse's pictures, which is kind of the theme for this, there's definitely a little bit of thought gone into the colour palette, as you would expect. So I'm going to go for blues, pinks, oranges. This is a dark indigo, a bit of ultramarine. Another red, probably. I don't think I want red though. I think that would be a bit much. So what I might do is use I'd like to say a pink, but I've got a, no, it's all right. That is not the pink. That's the pink. We use pink. I'm going for seaweedy colours because that's what I want to make today. And gouache being funny stuff, you don't dilute it very much. You can just use it neat from the tube, or you can add a bit of water. So what I'm doing is I'm using this little scrap of paper as a palette, and then I'm going to start painting some of it onto here. So I will show you how this works. We're going to use one piece of paper for painting some stuff onto, and then I'll use the other piece just to stick it onto afterwards. So that's going to be my, this is very small scale for me. Usually I'm all over the place doing everything absolutely ginormous, but that's going to be my finished thing. So that's about A5 size, and this is going to be my collage paper. So apparently Matisse was a fan of the gouache and actually did his paintings using this exact same stuff. You can buy tubes pretty cheaply, but if you don't have it or you can't get hold of it, literally anything will work. I mean, crayons, anything, doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a quarter of this each colour. I might use that brush actually, it doesn't really matter. I use a little bit of water just to help it move around, and I'll start with this rather funky, it's described as Venetian red. I would say light red, Venetian red, like an orangey sort of colour. I'm just going to get it nice and flat. Doesn't really matter too much if it's not very evenly positioned. And of course you don't have to use all the same colour. You could even mix and match them, sort of allow them to merge a little bit. So you can see that's all I'm doing with that. And let's do the next one, shall we? That funky pink. So funky pink, here we go. Oh my life, that's permanent rose. That is very, very highly pigmented. So what we'll do is we'll pop some of that on here. And once I've got that on there, it will just dry. And I'll move on to the blues. So we've got this lovely pink next to the orange. Quite like that already, actually. That's quite nice. Okay, so that's 2 colours. Now, I'm not going to put my... Oh, yes, I am. No, I am going to put my elbow in it. I am if I do that anyway. I was going to turn it over. Dear, oh dear. Right. Bit of blue. Lovely ultramarine blue. One of those colours that you can really never get enough of. It's gorgeous, this one. The ones I'm using today are Winsor & Newton artist quality gouache, but as I say, anything cheap and cheerful will work perfectly well for this. And you could, if you really can't even be bothered to paint, use any coloured paper that's lying about, or even cut bits out of magazines, because I actually think that would look quite cool. So just putting this last colour on, this is the indigo. I like this colour palette actually. We've got a nice dark colour, we've got a really scorchingly, eye-wateringly bright colour, and some lovely mid-tones there. So just get this last one on, and then I am going to have to go off and find a hairdryer, because otherwise we'll be sitting for a very long time watching paint dry, which is no fun, even when they are as lovely as this. Okie dokie, so there's our colours. You can see that did hardly used any paint at all, and I'm going to go and get the other bits now, and then we shall carry on. Okay, so these are now quite dry, and you can see they're very matte sort of colours, which I quite like. They're very opaque, they're very matte, and they're going to make some really funky seaweed shapes and other things going on. Now, I know when you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to cut something out of this, it's really easy to think, well, I want to draw it on. There is nothing wrong with drawing it on, but I would recommend, if you want to draw things on, what I'd do is I'd just cut out each of these little panels first. You could either just completely freestyle the cutting out, which would be quite fun, but as I've got very limited little pieces here and I want to keep it quite manageable, I'm going to cut them out. And I will show you for why in just a minute. So each of those colours, I'm not being completely careful about how I cut them out, but I'm trying to trim them so that I get all the colour, or as much of it as I possibly can. I've got two. And then what I'll do is I'll show you how I would tackle this if I was nervous about cutting out. As you might have gathered, if you've seen any of my other videos, I am not very nervous about cutting out. I'm incredibly gung-ho about that sort of thing, but if I had only a limited amount of paper or in a certain colour or something, then I would probably be a bit more careful. Okay, so let's get a shot of these. We'll just chuck them out of the side of the video, where I will have to tidy them up later. Now, what I would do with this sort of thing, if I was wanting to make some lovely shapes out of this and I was nervous about nervous about actually how I was going to cut them out, what I wouldn't do is draw on this side. The reason I've cut these out is because now if I turn that over and I draw on the other side, I know that everything is going to come out really nice, and if I make a pig's ear of it, I can just rub it out. So Matisse was a big fan of these kind of seaweedy shapes. So that's what I'm going to draw on this one. It's a bit like a weird hand. It's not possibly quite what I was going for, but the lovely thing about this is I can fiddle with it, so maybe that one needs to be a bit longer. And then I'm going to cut out, I'm going to do some little bubbles as well, and I'm going to use a little hole punch for those. So I'll just check there's no, these hole punches are brilliant. They fill up with random little dots that I use for all sorts of things. So I'll just show you what I mean by this. If I do that and tip them out, I've now got 3 little dots, which will absolutely point blank refuse to turn over, I'm sure. But you can see one of them is blue. They're all blue. So if I might end up with lots of these are all going to go on the floor, aren't they? I can see this coming. There we go. There's another one. There's another one. So hole punches can be tremendous fun. And then what I'm going to do is start cutting some of these out. And I'm going to do a variety of seaweedy things. I've got a big pair of scissors in case I want to make some big shapes, but I think I'm going to go for these smaller scissors just to keep it a little bit more controlled. So you can see now I've got this wonderful, vivid, funky, interesting thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I've got a piece of paper, the other piece of paper, and then I found, while I was wandering about around the house, a little mount, and I'm going to use that to plot where things are going to go as I go along. So this will be my picture, and I think that's going to go there for starters. I'll save the dots because I'll probably put them in around the side. What should we have on this orange one? I might have another one of those because I quite like that shape, and there was a lot of repetition of shapes in what he did, so we're just going to bring in another one of those. These lovely sort of fan shapes that are an absolute pig to cut out. I won't lie. There's another funky one. Loving that. Yep, I'm enjoying these already. Do you think we should have some red dots? I think maybe. Whoops, let's get a few of those. I might do some little shell shapes as well. The brighter the colour, and this is an interesting thing to think about, if you've got a really like properly zingy colour, you don't need much of it to balance out the other colours. So I need to be a little bit careful with this because this will overpower everything else because this is so zingy and so bright. So what I might do is use this for some little shell shapes like this. You know, like little clam shells. And if you're thinking, oh, how many of these should I be doing? 3 is a great number. You really can't go wrong with 3s. Artists love odd numbers, and we absolutely love 3s. So let's put some 3s on here. Oh, we've lost one on the floor already. Marvellous. So again, you can't see on that side, but on this side you can. So let's cut out some of these little guys. And you can see how vibrant is that compared to the others. So that's why we have to be a little bit cautious of this sassy pink that we've got here. Shall we have some more of that nice blue? No, that is not the nice blue. I haven't got a huge amount of that left. I've got enough to make a little seaweed. Let's do a little one. Ah, yeah, that's a nice one. Let's see, that feels like it should go in the corner. They look a bit like weird alien hands. I might have to put some upside down just to take that out a bit. Now the blue, again, because the blue is quite dark, it's quite impactful, so smaller shapes with that blue might work quite well. I think I can already see where this is going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 more little bits of seaweed with this. So I'll have 3 orange, 2 blue, something fairly small with the dark because it's powerful, and I'll leave the pink with just these 3 like that. So we'll have a little seaweed. That one looks a bit like a hand. The nice thing about putting it on like this is I can play with these. So I can play with spacing out the... I want to put that down there now. So the dark blue, as I say, I've got... I feel like I want small objects with this. And I've already got one shape of shell. So what shall I put for the other one? So now I think that needs to go there. And then I think I'll have a few other little bits that are broadly similar. And it's quite fun moving these around. Now you see that feels quite nice, but I feel like I do need that third little... but maybe the dots just the way forwards. We'll make some dark dots as well. You can just keep moving them all over the place until it feels like it's balanced. And balance is everything in art, so let's put some little... These are going to be like bubbles. If I can pick the blasted things up. They do not want to come. Come on. Do I like that? I spend a lot of time asking myself if I like things. If you're putting things in like this, make sure you don't space them evenly, otherwise they will look a little bit odd. Let's have a look and see where else. I could put one here. One there maybe. I'm not going to use the orange. I think there's enough orange on there already. Oh dear, that's too near the other blue. Watch me spend about 3 hours faffing about, arranging the tiny dots. Got one more blue one. I've done 6. Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do, and then what I'm going to do is stick it down. So I'm just going to have a bit of a clear up, because otherwise there's going to be bits absolutely everywhere, and I know what happens. I'll end up going out with them all stuck on me. Now, the way that Matisse did this was, as I say, pins. He pinned it down all over the wall. I'm going to resort to a glue stick. Had they invented glue sticks at that point? Who can say? But it will enable me to just put them down. And what I'm going to do, I'll show you with this biggest one first, because this is going to be the first one. I'm not going to put much glue on this. I'm just going to put a little bit, because that is more in the spirit of the thing. I'm going to just tack it down in one place, so it's got a bit of movement to it. The tricky bit will be at the end, where I try and determine what's going to fall off when I pick it up. Be careful, if you're using gouache for this, be careful, because gouache, if it gets glue on it, might move. It might try and smush onto the paper, so you can see I'm being quite careful about when I position them on. I'm only pressing on that one bit. So that's that one. And yeah, they might all fall off later, but you know, does it matter? We're just having a bit of fun. Oops. Have I done all those? This is the problem. You can't tell what you've done and what you haven't. I think I'm doing all right. It's the little spots that are going to be quite difficult, I think. But you know, it'll be all right. I'll find a way to do them. Slightly damp finger would probably do the job, but then the dampness is dangerous, as I say, with the gouache. So maybe a slightly gluey finger might work. Oh dear, there's a lot of glue on that. Right, just the spots then. Oh, it's all right. Now I've got a slightly gluey finger. They're going okay. 1. Oh, no, because they won't go on now. Oh dear, what a mess. Stick, please. I have to say this is not a high quality glue stick. I would go as far as to say it's a very bad glue stick. I don't know why. I always end up with these rubbish ones. Nearly there. Nope, that's not coming off. That one maybe? I'm going to pick this up in a minute and see what drops off. Okay, shall we see what drops off? Let's have a little look. Nothing drops off. Wow, that is superb. I am very happy with that. So you can see, as I move this about, I don't know if you can see those, how they are all a little bit, they're not quite fixed, but that is part of the fun. And these are just, it's just really funky. It's a really lovely thing to make. And we're just about done. There we go. Okay, so that's about it for this month, and I hope you've had fun making a little cutout with me, or a great big cutout, who knows. If you've enjoyed that, you might want to check out my other videos here on YouTube, and I will be back in June with another art club. Oh, look, the sun's come out. Isn't that lovely? Take care. Happy painting.